wondering how I got into this mix.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Conscious Resistance Live, episode 83. Today is Friday, January 12th, 2018. And yeah, stoked because this is the first time we're trying this out. Hopefully it's working and coming through on DLive. Typically, I do this show every Friday. We've been doing it for going on 4 years now in a number of different ways. But right now, we're focusing on moving all of our efforts in our platform to decentralized versions, which would be Steemit, DLive, YouTube, DTube, and DLive, and these platforms and others like them. So I hope you guys will follow us on here. And if you're not following me on Steemit already, please go ahead and do so. We just did our best to share this out on Facebook. Of course, those of you guys out there who use Facebook, everybody, know that Facebook suppresses alternative views and alternative websites. And they even just announced, I think this weekend in a new blog, or just this past couple of days in a new blog, that their news feed is now going to focus on family and friends. They want to make sure that people can have a family and friends kind of experience. So publishers, activists, broadcasters, your information is going to get put to the bottom of the feed because Facebook cares about you and wants to make sure that you're connecting to your family and friends. And what that means for people like myself and others who use the internet and use social media as a way to broadcast and to connect with people and to spread ideas is we're going to see our numbers drop drastically. And those who depend on these resources for income are going to probably have to find other means, which is what's great about Steemit and DLive and DTube is you guys can actually reward our efforts here via cryptocurrency. And so we've been posting. I actually just recorded a new video that'll be out later tonight for my YouTube and Facebook audience, announcing that by the end of 2018, I will, if not much sooner, I will not be using Facebook and YouTube at all. Right now I'm still posting on the Conscious Resistance page and we're still posting our videos on YouTube for those who are there. But increasingly, we're putting our energy and time into DTube, DLive, and Steemit. And by the end of the year, I won't be using these platforms because they don't stand for the things that I want to support. And we have to make choices. And we probably can't bring the masses to Steemit, and I don't know if it's going to be a Facebook killer or anything like that, but it's a good platform and one that I support, and I'll support other decentralized versions, and I want to show people that, hey, I'm going to put my energy into something that represents my values. And with that said, please go ahead, if you don't mind sharing the link above that you're watching, share it on re-Steem it, that'd be cool. Also, share it out, try to share it on Facebook if you're involved in Facebook or Twitter or any of these other platforms. Because there are people out there who might enjoy this, as I said, we can expect to see Facebook drop the views. Typically, we're getting tens of thousands of views via Facebook because of the Mind Unleashed, and that's one thing that we might miss. But I think I'm ready for the opportunity to just jump fully into decentralized, broadcasting, decentralized journalism. So happy to be here. Now let's get into the first story of the day. The first one is relevant news that just took place yesterday. The United States House of Representatives extending a controversial surveillance measure for 6 more years despite bipartisan resistance to this surveillance measure. Now what I'm talking about is known as Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and it is the FISA Act, the FISA courts. It's a controversial law that we know, and we've known since the Bush administration, has been used to spy on Americans. This is one of the things that it was passed in the 70s, but quickly after 9/11, like literally within a month of 9/11, they changed it very quickly so they could get access to Americans' emails and phone calls and all kinds of different things. And Edward Snowden helped us realize that they're also using it under 2 programs, one known as PRISM and one is Upstream, that gathers messaging data sent via Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, and other tech companies, and Upstream taps into the backbone of the internet to gather data on targets that they choose. So this controversial thing has been extended several times, I think most recently in 2012 or 2014 before this. Just before the end of 2017, the lawmakers said, okay, we'll pass a very quick extension, and it lasted for a few weeks. That was supposed to expire, and it is set to expire on January 19th. So now they've been moving quickly, and yesterday these people who, I don't even like calling them representatives because it gives them too much credit. They don't represent any of us, I would say, and they only represent their corporate interests. These people, they voted overwhelmingly, Democrats and Republicans, to pass this, and the measure they passed, they wouldn't allow for any vote or discussion on requiring the FBI or the NSA to have to use a warrant. No, they can't stop and have a warrant and ask for permission or present evidence to a judge on why they need to monitor you and spy on you, because they need to stop terrorism. So they passed this 256 to 164 with a few different people voting against it. There was a coalition, a bipartisan coalition of more than 42 lawmakers that were unable to stop the passage of the bill. And now it moves to the Senate, where it'll more than likely pass. It has even less resistance in the Senate. Senator Rand Paul has said that he's going to filibuster it and try to do one of his really long speeches to delay it, but it's inevitable at this point. It will pass, and Trump will sign it. And yeah, this is, it's just, these people don't really care. Think about this. Now, even more specifically than the people who just voted against or voted for the bill in general, Justin Amash, one of the representatives, he actually presented an amendment which would force the FBI to have to get warrants. Just a simple requirement, right? And 178 Republicans and 55 Democrats voted against that. So 178 Republicans, 55 Democrats voted against even the simple measure to require a warrant before they do this. This should be a perfect example that these people don't care about our safety, our privacy, or our freedoms. And in fact, that both parties, when it comes to taxation, war, surveillance, civil liberties, economic enslavement, both parties are going to work together. And they are not truly enemies as they pretend to be. They are different factions of the same party. And as George Carlin says, it's a big club and none of us are in it. So yeah, just, remember that they can spy on you in another way, a new way. And unfortunately, there's not many people who are even paying attention. This is, I think, briefly a headline in the afternoon yesterday. Now today we're talking about, what is it? Trump said that certain countries are shithole countries. Isn't that what he said? So that's already, the headlines have already moved on now. Don't worry, you're being monitored. We're going to continue to spy on you. And it got extended for 6 years. So that's the thing. There's going to be no debate about this for 6 more years. So 2007, 18, 19, into the 2020s, we won't hear about this again. They'll just continue to grow. Who the heck knows what it's going to look like by that point? Let's look on to the next story, though, briefly mentioning the Trump man, the Trumpster, this guy who apparently pardoned 5 megabanks for corruption charges, which he also happened to owe money to them, and including Deutsche Bank. Financial Times is now reporting that Trump owed the bank at least $130 million in outstanding loans secured in properties, Miami, Chicago, and Washington. Some people say that the number is actually likely higher, like $300 million. And now apparently during the week of Christmas, the Federal Register announced that the Trump administration had issued waivers to Citigroup, JP Morgan, Barclays, UBS, and Deutsche Bank, all mega banks facing charges of fraud and corruption. All the banks were involved in the LIBOR scandal, in which they colluded to deliberately depress the rate at which they paid out investments by suppressing the London Interbank Offered Rate, or the LIBOR rate. At the beginning of the economic crisis in 2007, these banks were able to boost their earnings and to give their customers a false sense of security. And apparently Trump is giving them a pass, allowing them to continue in their efforts to rob you blind, I guess. I don't even know why. I did a video a while back. You can find this on the Conscious Resistance YouTube channel, called "Why Are You Still Using Your Bank?" And it wasn't an attack or really even, it was just a question. Like, I'm truly curious. Why is it that people are still using their banks when we know what they're involved in? And we know that, these people have been robbing not just Americans, but people around the world blind for hundreds of years, these banksters. And there's different reasons that some will say, well, I've got a mortgage, I need somewhere to store my cash, or like, hey, I'm gaining interest. There's all these different reasons that I feel like we make slight compromises on our principles and our values. And I posted about this earlier on Facebook based on a Steemit post I actually made a couple months ago called "People Are Too Comfortable to Change," or something like that, or "We Encourage Our Own Enslavement," something along those lines. Because I pretty much have got to the point where I think that no matter what we present people with, and I say this as an individual, knowing that I know that we can't reach perfection, right? But I know that each of us can strive in our individual lives to become more principled and to become more in line with the values that we speak of and that we want to see in the world, right? It's a process, and often it's difficult, and we're all in different situations. I'm a single young male without children or any really major debts and things like that. It gives me a lot of freedom in what I do, and I know that's not the situation all of us are in. So I understand that. But I do think that we can each move towards being more in line with these values and these principles. And when we make compromises and we say, okay, well, I don't like the banks because they stole from all these people, and I'll go out in the streets and I'll protest against the banks and I'll protest for the people and, against Wall Street. And maybe you were part of Occupy Wall Street, but then you turn around and you got your money in these people's institutions. Like, that doesn't seem to really work in your favor. And again, it's not about me judging you. It's just about taking an honest assessment of your actions and saying, are these going to lead me to my goals? I think if your goal is to, get rid of Wall Street or, just stop the banksters or anything like that, then using their institutions is not going to get you towards that goal. So whether we're talking about health, whether we're talking about banks, whether we're talking about surveillance, and again, me trying to be more consistent with my values, that's why we're moving away from Facebook, we're moving away from YouTube and more towards Steemit and towards DTube and these sort of things. So yeah. But let's get into this next story. These next couple ones are going to be brief as well. Really today, the topic you saw at the beginning of the episode, this is episode 83, called Technology as a Tool. And we're going to talk about what I mean by that in just a couple of moments, because after we get through this story, pretty much the rest of the stories are technology related. We're actually going to do a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency transaction today live on the show. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about gender norms, body norms, expectation, things of that, based on a post I recently made on Steemit. So lots going on. And of course, if you guys are watching via DTube, please feel free to comment, say anything. And again, shares, re-steams are appreciated. Thank you guys for doing this. We're really trying to pioneer this platform, because if you go to DLive, there's not a whole lot of content there. There's shout out to the crypto hoe. I've noticed your channel. There's she's like the first porn star on the blockchain. It's pretty funny. Dude, do your thing. But I just noticed there's not a whole lot of stuff on there. It's mainly just crypto hoe and some other random things. So we're happy to join you guys and pioneer this new platform. But this story is about Yemen, and we've talked about this. I keep mentioning it because you need to know about it. I mean, even if the least I can do is just say, hey, at least I told some new people that there's people dying in Yemen via U.S. taxpayer dollars and funding. And I had a discussion/debate with somebody about this, because they thought that it was disingenuous of me to say that to post a story about Yemen and the deaths that have been going on there and to put an asterisk that said funded by U.S. taxpayers. He said, how is this funded by U.S. taxpayers? And the way I explained it was, okay, the U.S. taxpayers are being robbed by the government, sure, but that money is being taken to go build bombs, or to contract people who build bombs, so the U.S. government can have those, and they're turning around and they're selling them to the Saudis. And the Saudi taxpayers, they're probably being taxed as well and using that money to go buy bombs from the U.S. So it's back and forth, right? So at the end of the day, the taxpayers are being fleeced, and we're paying for bombs to drop against other people like us. It's the rich man's war, things of that sort. And until people know that there is a war in Yemen and many other places being backed by the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Israel, then we need to keep talking about it. This article is from the Anti-Media. It says, MSNBC ignores catastrophic U.S.-backed war in Yemen. And the title could just as easily say, most mainstream media, deadstream media, ignore this. But it focused specifically on MSNBC's coverage, and which is interesting, because MSNBC, they'll talk about Russia all day, right? And they claim to be this kind of left-wing humanitarian, resist Trump, we're for the people. But they apparently missed this one in their coverage all throughout 2017. An analysis by FAIR has found that the leading liberal cable network did not run a single segment devoted to Yemen in the second half of 2017. And in these latter roughly 6 months of the year, MSNBC ran nearly 5,000% more segments that mentioned Russia than segments that mentioned Yemen. Moreover, in all of 2017, MSNBC only aired one broadcast on the U.S.-backed Saudi airstrikes that have killed thousands of Yemeni civilians. And it never mentioned the impoverished nation's colossal cholera epidemic, which has infected more than 1 million Yemenis, and the largest outbreak in recorded history. That sounds like pretty big news, especially because these are U.S. allies, Israel and Saudi Arabia, and these are U.S. bombs being used in this 33-month war that has cost the lives of millions of people on both sides. I mean, in the greater conflict, but thousands of civilians for sure. And it continues to be blacked out in the deadstream media. And that's important. That's why we have to talk about this. Hopefully, we'll kind of take a little tangent for a second. Hopefully we can see these stories and more covered, because I'm just going to throw this out there for those who are watching. I just found out that Ben Swan, a friend of mine and journalist, amazing journalist, is coming back within weeks, really. He'll be back beginning February, March, and April, putting out new episodes of his Reality Check segment. And he's doing so because of another cryptocurrency, Dash. The Dash community funded his proposal to bring back his website, Truth in Media, that I used to write for and hopefully will be writing for again, and his reality check video segments, which were very popular all through from 2012 throughout the elections and then up till last year when he went blank and dropped off the internet. Of course, he's still been working in Atlanta on local news, but this is a big step. And Ben is a great journalist with not only awards and sort of a credentialed history in the mainstream world, but lots of respect in the activist community and in the truth community. So it's a big step, and hopefully with people like Ben back, we can boost some of these alternative platforms, maybe get him. I know that he does have a DTube channel, and that he used to pay me in Bitcoin, so he's been involved with cryptocurrency since back in 2012, 2013, whenever I was first getting paid as well. So he's not somebody who's new to this at all. So it's awesome to see him being involved, and hopefully we'll see more from him. I know a lot of people, that's probably one of the questions I got asked most. If it wasn't related to my specific work, it was asked me, where's Ben Swan at? You know anything about when Ben Swan's coming back and this kind of thing? So Ben Swan is coming back, and hopefully our agreement still stands, and I'll be getting the first exclusive interview with him to discuss what happened and what he's working on now. But yeah, let's move on now to our technology section. We got 3 stories here. And the next one is, it's a little maybe scary, but the 2 after that are actually positive stories, because we don't want to just focus on scary crap and bad stuff. I mean, it's reality, right? These are all versions of our reality. These are all flavors of the reality. We can't ignore that some of it is not that great, doesn't sound that fun, and it's kind of scary. It's, when you start diving into these stories and really looking into what the heck's going on. I mentioned the surveillance bill. I've been following the increase on border searches. I was reading a story yesterday about a NASA engineer who got his laptop stolen because I think he's from for some foreign country, and they didn't like him, and they thought he was a terrorist on his way back into the nation, and so they took it from him. I mean, things are really getting scary out there, and that's a reality we have to deal with, not just in the U.S., but other countries as well, but definitely here in the U.S. It's becoming increasingly difficult to be free. And with the plans that we see that they have, I mean, I've been reading through the hearings of what they're going to do with building this wall, and they're already planning within the next year and a half to have a biometric retinal facial recognition scanning program for every single person that enters and leaves the United States. I mean, that is crazy. And some people say, well, this is the world we're in. We've got terrorists, we've got all these different forms of technology and encryption and this and that. They have to keep us safe somehow. So, and I think to some level it makes sense, right? Like, you had a community and you start realizing, like, hey, if we don't protect our computers, if we don't have IT security and just security of our devices and of our mainframes that store our information and our data, somebody could hack us. So as a community, you might realize this, and as a nation, I guess they're worried about that. But also, I think it's quite obvious when we really look close to it that it's about more than just keeping people safe or things of that sort. This is about control. It's about domination. It's about taking our freedoms away, no matter what they say. So this is about that. Why is the FBI so freaking afraid of encryption? Why is the FBI afraid of that? Let's look at this. This is something I just wrote for Activist Post. FBI Director Christopher Wray declared that the Bureau's inability to access encrypted electronic devices is, quote, a major public safety issue. So he's like sounding the alarms. On Tuesday, the director of the FBI, which is the Federal Bureau of Investigations, discussed the dangers posed by encryption of electronic devices. Speaking at the International Conference on Cybersecurity in New York, FBI Director Christopher Wray spoke about the challenges that encryption presents to law enforcement. He said, "We face an enormous and increasing amount of cases that rely heavily, if not almost exclusively, on electronic devices or electronic evidence. We also face a situation where we are increasingly unable to access that information despite having the lawful authority to do so." The FBI has been fighting to crack encryption on phones for several years. And this guy, Christopher Wray, he's been talking against encryption for some time now. As soon as Trump appointed him, which was kind of interesting, I looked into the background on this dude. He was supposed to come into office in like July, and then he got accused of like sexually assaulting or raping somebody in his office. And then they said they investigated and found him of no wrongdoing. Everything was fine, and then he got put in office. So who knows? I mean, there could definitely be more into that. I don't know, but the guy is interesting to say the least. But he's one of these guys who, of course, is arguing that there's going to be a digital 9/11 if we don't, a cyber 9/11 if we don't be able to crack encryption and get inside people's devices. And as you may remember, in 2015, after the San Bernardino, California attacks, the FBI was trying to get Apple to get them to unlock an iPhone, basically saying, like, get us inside this phone. Apple refused and said, and so have other tech companies, and saying that, like, that's going to set a dangerous precedent for internet security if we start giving you backdoors into our devices. So instead, they went to a private company that helped them access it. But Apple held strong. That's one time that they stand strong, and I appreciate that. So in his speech, though, the FBI director noted that the Bureau was unable to access data from 7,775 devices in 2017 in the fiscal year that ended September 30th. So congratulations. Thank you very much to all those people who practiced encryption and protected your devices. Congratulations for keeping your information from the hands of the FBI. But according to him, being unable to access nearly 7,800 devices in a year is a major public safety issue. That's more than half of the devices that we attempted to access. That's pretty cool. You guys couldn't get into half of people's stuff, and I'm thankful for that. According to this guy, though, they're looking for something that is going to require significant innovation. And he says, let me be clear, the FBI supports information security. We support strong encryption, but information security programs need to be thoughtfully designed so they don't undermine the lawful tools we need to keep this country safe. That's what it's all about, right? Keeping you safe. And the way I end this article is just a couple of reminders. The question is, should the American people put their trust in the FBI to keep them safe? You have to remember that this is the same agency that has been proven to trap unstable individuals and then blame them for terrorism. This is also the same agency that works with JSOC to do violent house raids in other nations around the world. They've been spying on activists since the 50s, 60s, and 70s. They've been building a secret massive facial recognition database. They're secretly recording people in public. And I have links for all of these, by the way, if you check that link. And on and on and on. And these are the people that they're saying we should trust because they need to violate our privacy and break encryption to keep us safe. I say no thanks. Hopefully you do as well. And now on to some positive technology stories. And then we're going to get into, because the next one involves blockchain, then we're going to talk to Jeffer for a moment and see what kind of crypto we can send him right here live on DLive. This could be the first cryptocurrency exchange happening live on a new decentralized blockchain platform. We might not be doing porn, but it's still pretty cool. So we'll see.
Maybe next episode.
Maybe next episode, 84. Maybe that might be the episode we introduce porn to this show. We'll see. All right. This app that crowdsources bail lets anyone help disrupt America's mass incarceration. Again, these are positive technology stories, and that's why the reason the episode is called "Technology is a Tool," right? Because we went through talking about technology and the Section 702 surveillance. That's technology, right? They're using tools, computers to get in your information, to log your emails and all these kind of things. We just talked about, biometrics. We're talking about all these various devices. We're talking about technology, bombs, drones. These are forms of technology as well that we are probably not very fond of. And now we're going to talk about some apps that are also forms of technology. And we've talked about crypto and other things that do help people elevate their living standard and uplift themselves and live better lives. So it is a tool. Ultimately, that tool depends on the user and the intent, right? I think that, again, we need to have principles. This is how we started talking about the beginning of the show, is having principles, right? Because if you're an unprincipled person, maybe you design a tool and you know that this tool, if in the wrong hands, say a government or some evil person, could instantly catalog everybody and identify them and put them in a threat score and all sorts of things, and it's going to be the next Skynet, and governments are going to use it for all sorts of horrible things. You could choose to do that and get rich and go on with your life like that, or you could, and I guess some people could argue, well, it's technology. Somebody else will come along and do it, right? But you don't have to be the one to do it. I mean, that's just the way I feel. Is maybe people actually brought in their principles in all their actions, things would be different. And I think that's what we have here. So in response to mass incarceration and really underwhelming resources for those in prison, especially those who are wrongly imprisoned, nonviolent, victimless crimes, there's a new app called Abolition, a combination of app and abolition. It's a simple program that allows users to donate pennies from everyday purchases toward bail funds for people who otherwise cannot afford to gather money. It simply rounds up transaction amounts on debit, credit, and PayPal to the nearest dollar and donates the difference to National Bailout, an organization of grassroots groups that work to, quote, end the money bail and in the meantime get as many people out of cages and back to their families as we can. So that's pretty cool. So they're working with, it's taking an app, Abolition, which is kind of cool. It's app and abolition. And they're working with a grassroots organization called National Bailout. So you just use the app, and then whenever you purchase things, I guess it's taking small amounts from there and donating towards this. And if a bunch of people just, I guess, do their basic shopping habits while using this app, it's possible to direct a lot of extra resources towards those who are locked out and might not have the ability to get bail money or to help themselves. So just a little bit of numbers on the incarceration rate for those who might not know. The incarceration rate has actually grown 1,000% since 1980, and at least part of this is due to drug prohibition. President Obama made some reforms, including not prosecuting cannabis offenses in states where it's illegal, but overall his administration maintained the status quo. Either way, National Bailout has said that the drug war disproportionately affected minorities, and as the ACO and many others have noted, cannabis is roughly equal among blacks and whites cannabis use, yet blacks are 3.73 times as likely to be arrested for cannabis possession. And there's a lot of different reasons for that we could get into, but at the end of the day, the point is no matter what color you are, there's all kinds of people that are locked up for choosing to smoke a plant or do some exchange that the government didn't like, and using apps like this and the next one we're going to talk about, people can actually help each other, and they can use technology, again, for good, not for bombs, not for killing each other, but for educating ourselves, for figuring out new knowledge on growing our own food and building community and helping those who are in need and helping those who are locked up in unjust systems. I mean, it's beautiful. These are the ways that we can use technology without having to support the bullshit. That's what I call it, support the bullshit. Now, the next one is about an app that also involves cryptocurrency and blockchain, so that makes it even cooler. It's called BailBlock. And maybe it's not an app, maybe it's a charity. Let me see this. This is by John Vibes. It's called, what is it called? Excuse me real quick. BailBlock. Okay, so, and then John provides some more stats. According to a recent report from Pretrial Justice Institute, nearly 2/3, 63% of people in U.S. jails are unconvicted individuals, compared to slightly more than 51% in 1990. So there's a lot of people who are just waiting to go to trial and waiting to figure out what the heck's going to happen to them. And now there's a new effort called BailBlock, which is hoping to achieve this goal of helping these unconvicted people make bail by harnessing the power of the blockchain. BailBlock uses cryptocurrency miners to generate bail funds for unconvicted inmates. What they say on their website is when you download the app, a small part of your computer's unused processing power is redirected towards mining a popular cryptocurrency called Monero. I've heard of Monero. I don't have any myself, but I've heard good things, which is secure, private, and untraceable. At the end of every month, we exchange the Monero for US dollars and donate the earnings to the Bronx Freedom Fund. 100% of the currency your computer generates is used by the Bronx Freedom Fund to post bail for low-income people detained in New York, effective immediately. Bail bonds are revolving, which means they return to the source when people appear for all their court dates, which for the clients of the Bronx Freedom Fund happens 96% of the time. Most BailBlock users can expect to generate around $3 to $5 per month. It might not seem like that much, but because of the revolving funding money model, it adds up very quickly. BailBlock uses a newer cryptocurrency called Monero, which has been rising in popularity, especially on the dark web, because it has a pretty good amount of anonymity, and it also has low fees and transaction times. If I remember correctly, I want to say that Monero originally was like Darkcoin or something like that. They changed the name. It might be the one that Cody Wilson and some of those guys were developing. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. You just check out that company, what is it called? BailBlock. And you can mine cryptocurrency. Now, this is a new idea we've heard about recently, where some websites actually, we saw one website, I think Pirate Bay and others were doing it illegally, meaning they didn't tell their customers. But have either one of you guys heard about this? You basically go to a website and then they would start using your computer's extra power. They would like have an app connect to your shit and start using your computing power to mine cryptocurrency without telling you. And so this website was using all of their customers.
That's a new kind of pirate.
Yeah, it's kind of like stealing from you, but because then the thing is like your computer would be going slower and people are like, what the heck's going on? But there's also now apps and websites that tell people, and you get money out of it. You're like, hey, donate some of your computer power to us. And just a little bit, so you don't have to do a full mining operation, but you still receive a little bit of crypto out of it. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, now that we're gonna do.
We'll make money again.
Let's go split both of us.
Fine.
Turn your mic on too. We're gonna do now the crypto exchange. I'm not sure exactly.
Hi guys.
Jeff Ronlin, good.
Yes.
Jeffers pulling up his crypto exchange.
So So everybody, we're going to do a crypto exchange, but we're not going to do Bitcoin because Bitcoin's got high fees, but we've been all sort of diversifying and trying to get into more cryptocurrencies. I've got Dash, Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin, and Nexus. So I've got 6 of them right now. And you already gave me $100 for some crypto. So you've already given me some fiat, some cash for it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the exchange live.
Purchase some, is it Ethereum or Nexus? Let's go for some Nexus. Can we do that?
I can't do Nexus at the moment because of the exchanges, but I can definitely do Ethereum.
Okay.
Okay, so we can show them then. You send me your wallet address privately, and then we'll just show them your wallet as like the money shows up in it.
We'll be posting his wallet address. In the
Yeah. If you want to send Jeffrey some Ethereum, please do. If you're watching this live on Steam and you guys are feeling friendly, please donate some Ethereum to Jeffrey. Yeah, send me the wallet address. And I'm going to send him live this, and then we're going to go to our last topic. And for those who follow me on Steam, or if you haven't watched, you can check out the link. It's called Stop Calling Me Skinny, or Dealing with Body Issues as a Man, which is something I've been wanting to write about for a while. I never got to it. So we're going to talk about that next if you want to just get a peek at that. But for now, let's see. I'm logged in. I've got my Ethereum ready. Got $100. I could maybe even move this camera and show them. Let me just make sure none of my anything. My email.
Don't mess up the show, bro. We've been working so hard.
Go ahead and send me your wallet, Jeffrey, and then we'll. So if you guys are hesitating to get involved, I think pretty much anybody who's watching through D-Live right now, or maybe you're watching later, because now it's working reverse. Instead of taking it from Facebook and YouTube and giving it to the decentralized platforms, we're doing it on the decentralized platforms first. And then you're going to get it second if you watch on Facebook and YouTube. So there's a benefit. But
Steam is a cryptocurrency.
And Steam dollars, Steam, it is its own crypto. So everybody here, I'm thinking, is probably crypto friendly. But if you want to help out Jeffrey's just getting into the community. He's just getting into.
I'm still a noob.
Yeah, and also we'll mention this while we're talking here and getting this ready. The 3 of us are about to have our own Steemit account, the Freethinker House. We actually just posted a new video that came out about an hour ago. Right now it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, of course, but as soon as we get approved for a new email address, the 3 of us are going to have a joint account. We're going to post all of our videos that we did before from year 1, and now we're starting year 2, moving into some new projects, and we plan to use the Steemit community and Steam dollars to fund some cool ideas and see how we can support each other.
I thought that bail idea was really interesting. I'd never heard of that, man. There's a lot of people that need to
I was
do
actually
that.
thinking that last week. I was having a conversation with someone at a bar about all the ways that we could fund healthcare, education by
Right, like imagine if your computers extra energy was going to dying babies or someone in that
going to dying babies.
You could easily take what they're doing with that let's say this abolition or the bail block, same concept, hey, use a little bit of your extra power and it goes towards this, but then make it, community health or something like that.
It's kind of like at the grocery store.
You can use that for anything. That really is.
At the grocery store, you're checking out. They're like, "Hey, do you wanna donate 5 cents to some fund that somebody probably is getting a paycheck from?"
There's different ways for us to basically still support each other. And did you send it yet, Jeff?
I sent it to
the other one.
To Facebook.
All right. 1 second. All right. Yeah. So. I don't know. I think that's definitely we hear that from many people who are like, oh, without government, how are we going to take care of the elderly? How
will we build the roads,
how are we going to do this stuff?
How are we going to build them?
Literally, if it was as simple as you knew by downloading this app, you were going to be generating a cryptocurrency that would, every time you used it, that went towards the community health fund. And when you download this app, it generates money that goes towards repairing the road. You know what I mean? So you could pick and choose where you wanted your literal energy that your computer's using to go towards.
People would have multiple devices as well.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So people got your smart TV is now feeding the homeless.
Your TV
sit on your ass and feed the homeless at least.
Or
remember those email address?
Oh no, I'm trying to get this working.
Jeffrey's got multiple devices going right now.
Okay, cool. We'll keep going with just.
But remember a couple of years ago there was there was a solar panel or some sort of thing, invention that you could put on a path and people walking over it would generate electricity. Do you remember?
I do remember that. I forget
Imagine then if you could connect that to a mining computer. So people are on the roads, driving on the roads, it's generating energy connected to miners.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's
Like
the
from the car
solution.
tires?
Well, we can. People are worried about like
And then
what's
they're
going
like,
to
do you know
happen.
how much that would cost? But
Well, people are worried about the environment, right, and mining and stuff. And there's companies that are trying to figure out more environmental solutions. But think about that. Like instead of having to use computers, creating or draining the electric grid, what if you had, like Jeff was saying, like the road that is essentially just going to be some other form of computer that's reading, like maybe it's like generating energy just by people
some
driving on it.
friction or something.
And yeah, and it's creating more energy that is going to power the grid, but also through that, it's mining cryptocurrency. Those reward tokens go
And it's
towards like
also
feeding
mining-
system, you know what I mean? Like,
The blockchain, bros.
all right, we're tripping out on the blockchain here for a minute.
These blockchain
You ready to do this
fantasies.
transaction yet?
Hope so.
Come on, Jeff, let's come through. Were you trying? Do you have an Ethereum wallet? What wallet are you using?
I was using Airbits. I thought you could use everything on Airbits, but I just see that it's just
It's Jax, man. It's
Jax is a
I
good
got
one
the
that-
Jax is
app.
the one that I think I read this. Everyone gave it 1 star and it said
Maybe it's the app. I don't know, but I've used the desktop version of Jax, and I've had no.
Yeah,
issues.
someone said, do not use this app. They have my money in limbo for the last month. I was like,
Well, you go ahead and get that one figured out. We'll do that before the end of the show. I want to continue on here.
Yeah, you want to move to the...
Yeah, so this is a piece that I wrote for Steam called Stop Calling Me Skinny or Dealing with Body Issues as a Man. And as I said, this is something that I've been wanting to kind of talk about. I have a list of videos and articles and concepts I'm trying to get to. Oh, I can scratch that one off. There's still 3 more that I've been working on for several months that I haven't got to. But this one has been on my mind for a bit. And I saw some other people on Facebook, friends who kind of addressed it, other dudes who were like, hey, this is what I've dealt with. And so I thought it'd be kind of interesting to address because as John Vibes and I talk about in our first book in our chapter, Balancing the Feminine and Masculine, often people, like when people think about gender norms and gender roles, I tend to feel, as a man, right, that for the most part the focus is on women, right? How are women treated and what are... how are women expected to be a certain way? But as dudes, because guys don't typically talk about their emotions. I mean, that's even another stereotype that guys aren't supposed to. But a lot of us, as men growing up, are sort of told by other dudes, like, and often people who are influential in our lives, like either we're directly discouraged from speaking about our emotions, or it just doesn't happen. So there's some combination of that, which I think creates a situation where dudes just kind of grow up like knowing, like, no, we don't talk about that. Like there's just these expectations. Guys are supposed to be tough. Guys are supposed to be strong. Women are supposed to be weak and want help. Women are pretty and they paint their nails and it's all like men should
Not
do this
lately, bro.
and women should not do this, right? And there's a lot of mixed up stuff in there. There's people who are reacting to this sort of more openness that has happened in the last 40, 50 years, and they're going more extreme. They're like, no, we want there to be traditional gender roles, right? So my topic, I focused on my body issues, but then I sort of was bringing it to what I think this really relates to is just people's view on gender roles. So I'm just going to kind of get into this briefly. And basically what I was talking about is that since I've been a teenager and a young kid, I've had different nicknames like Big Lank or Lanky that people have given to me since, because I got tall very quick in like 7th, 8th grade. I was tall, like the tallest kid for a little while. And then everybody else caught up, and it was just, I've always been kind of thin and tall. And I've been told by other adults, and mainly dudes, get some meat on your bones. And even by women as I've gotten older, and women who maybe were interested in me or I was kind of interested in them, just making jokes about like me still being skinny or just different things, right? That for the most part I took as jokes. I'm not that thin-skinned that I can't take it as a joke. I just sort of laughed it off. But what I think was interesting is while people were telling me that, the reverse of it was that through pretty much from 6th grade and on through a little bit of high school, I was starving myself for quite a bit. I've always had body issues and always felt that like I was fat. Like, I mean, any girlfriend I've ever dated could tell you that it's something like I complained about, and it's just in my head. It's just something that I've always dealt with. And so I would just like starve myself and like only eat, like in 8th grade I was only eating like 1 bag of M&Ms a day. I remember that. And just doing all this kind of crazy stuff. Like then as I got older and I kind of got into self-harming, I started like cutting my stomach and doing things like that, and just really, I was depressed and I was already dealing with all that, but it was also these body issues. And so I was doing a lot of fucked up stuff towards myself, starving myself, punishing myself, and then being told by people around me that I was too skinny while I felt like I was fucking fat, nasty slob. And so I dealt with those issues, and part of me sometimes when people say that, and there is a part of me that wants to be like, fuck you, you fat bastard, because usually the people who are telling me that I'm too skinny are people who are not healthy themselves, or I don't know, there's such a weird, we have such twisted, weird views. There's some women who are shown like super skinny versions of women, and like they're told this is what they should be, and then dudes are shown like some, super masculine thing, or some super. There's just all these roles that I think and this is what I was saying, is I think what it really comes down to is that there are different gender and cultural norms, and that's fine. That each of us have an individual desire of the way that we want to look and the way we want to feel, but the problem is when we get into this point where society, and I say society in quotes because society at the end of the day is just, that's us. It's us as individuals. It's, let's go split. It's the collection of human beings. That's what society is. The collective of all existing human beings. That's the way I define society. So society is just us. So when we're like, society has these expectations of men or has these expectations of women, well, really it's that we put pressure on each other. Some, people make you feel bad, like when you're young, if you're different, if you stand out, or if you're young and you're reading magazines and media and different things that they put in front of you, you're gonna get a really fucking skewed ass image of like either women twerking.
I mean, those people don't even look like that though. Like if you saw one of those people that are in a magazine or something, like in real life, they don't look anything like that. They have 1,000 lights on them, like a pound of makeup. It's.
And even if they do look like Greek goddesses or something or whatever these people are trying to striving for, they're still just people. I mean, that's what drives me crazy about this is like we all have different people that we were inspired by, be them journalists, activists, sports players, whatever, like actors, different reasons that there are celebrities of different kinds. But I think there's definitely a difference between like worshiping them and just seeing somebody as talented. But overall, I think that what my sort of issues growing up with this kind of way, like I have my own reasons why I had like kind of body issues, right? But I think that there's a reason that men don't even, because like you look at the numbers, the estimates of like how many men there are that deal with some type of body issues, and then the amount of people that actually report it, it's like way lower than women and what they estimate, because it's just not a common thing for guys to talk about or to like address, or like I said, other people sort of look at you like weird or whatever. You're just supposed to be like a dude, I guess, and not give a fuck like what you look like or
bro, these.
I don't know, just fat. It's just there's like all these so many jokes.
Like, guys say, I mean, it's kind of true.
Have you guys ever though dealt with not necessarily even like body issues necessarily, but any kind of like just with that as far as gender norms of things that like guys aren't supposed to talk about this, or like men don't think about these things? Have you ever had that experience with any issue?
I for sure have had the body issues thing. My grandparents used to always say I was way too skinny and I needed to eat more. It always made me just like really feel.
I just came up with a really good response to that, because like people call me skinny all the time, and I get upset because I feel like I'd be underestimated often or whatever. But so I guess that kind of pissed me off. Like if a girl would be like at a concert or something, you're like, let me put you on my shoulders, and they don't think you can like hold them because you're skinny, basically. You know what I'm saying?
So kind of just.
So it's like people look at you, they're like, this just scrawny guy, like, you know what I mean? So you're like, damn, do I come off that way? So it's true. I mean.
For me personally, it's been a lot of like mental issues of my own self, like trying to just get more secure in like me and feeling comfortable, right? But at the same time, kind of the reason I wanted to write this and try to turn it into a bigger issue, because it's my personal thing, but at the same time, I feel like one of the reasons why it's so few, like far and few between that men address this or say anything about it is because we've had this reinforced norm that we're supposed to just be strong on, like emotionally this way, or like that, because I don't know about you, but like I literally had like an older brother who would like hit me and call me faggot if I talked about like how I was feeling or something like that, and like that I think was reinforced by like other males around us and that sort of mentality that's kind of put around, and then you end up with these dudes. Like I think about the quote from Fight Club often. He's like, we're a generation of men like raised without our, raised by our mothers or something like that. And just because it really gets me into thinking of like, we talked about this before, like why dudes like, and really not even just dudes, but adults like mid-20s, and where I feel like we should be taking care of ourselves by that point, who like don't know how to cook, don't know how to clean up after themselves, don't know like how to just we're just like still children, you know. That's why this like whole man-child sort of ideas come about. And so I think about that with Fight Club, that like we are just this generation that, and recent generations that have kind of had this family has been broken apart to some degree. There's like maybe those lacking relationships.
To a lot of degree.
There's a lot of like society telling you need to look like this and feel like this. I mean, and then you got people chasing.
There's
things
a lot of.
out.
I think it's all kind of the result of like everyone being really out of touch with who they are. You know, they're not sure, and then it just creates. I don't know. Like when your roots aren't planted very well, there's just going to be all that exterior shit is like constantly happening because you know families aren't going to stay together because they don't know how to have a good relationship. You know, if you're not like strong within yourself, then like all these other exterior problems start coming out that way, you know. Body, you don't feel right in your body, so or like these minor insults are able to like cut you up basically.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're just not.
You know what I mean?
You could definitely take it down to the breakdown of the family for a couple of generations, where it would once be your parents and your peers around your close circle around you. Now it's corporations who are the peers getting into your cell phones and your advertisement telling you this is how you need to be from a very young age. And that wasn't there for
you're not learning by your parents' examples so much.
You're not learning by someone who actually loves you, someone who really cares about your need. You're learning from someone who wants to profit off of your.
Yeah. So part of that, I think, goes back to how we've lost, like, in tribal settings, and even this is one reason that why, like, Native American spirituality is important to me, is because it's a lot about, like, everything is ceremony, everything is ritual, and has, like, a purpose and has a meaning, and, like, the reason, the number you do certain things, the reason you walk this way, or, all that stuff, like, has purpose. And I feel like what that does is, like, not only does it creates a sense of discipline that, let's be honest, like our world could probably use some level of discipline. Maybe in some way, these extreme alt-righters are like, the response to that is like they're calling out for discipline, but in this like super authoritarian way, because like we've lost like ritual, we've lost like customs and things that we share, and so we have this totally diluted culture, which is they blame on like multiculturalism and outsiders, like, oh, they're destroying our American culture, whatever that is, and there really isn't anything American. I feel like it is this kind of sort of amorphous thing for good or bad. And so there's maybe a lacking foundation in those traditions, and whether you're European or native to America or South America or whatever, we all have indigenous roots and we come from customs and from rituals and people who initiated like the men and the youth and the women and all these different things that we're totally disconnected from. And I mean, like you said, that's going to surface in all kinds of ways, and perhaps that's probably some of like what we're seeing, bubbling up from the surface now is like we're looking for a way to establish that. Some people in this super like twisted, like we need authoritarian rule so we can have discipline, and others are trying to like struggling for self-discipline and internal discipline and seeking that through spirituality or community or drugs or whatever, But at the end of the day, we're trying to find something to give us like foundation and roots. That's what it feels like to me.
I think that's what, like, at the deepest part of our yearning to go to the decentralized world is because we want to have that close circle again. We don't want to be communicated to by someone who's the top of the CEO,
fucking TV,
who only wants to like communicate with us so that he can profit off of us and buy his fourth yacht or something like that. The CEO of some Nike corporation wants us to buy his $200 sneakers, not because of the value of them, but just because he wants to make as much profit as possible. Whereas if we really want to go back to buying our sneakers from someone who made them down the road,
sells them on Etsy,
someone who actually put love into every single pair that they made, rather than hiring some slave in China to make them for 12 cents an hour. Like, we want to get back to knowing our butcher, our
having those
farmer.
connections.
Because that's the real thing. Like and I think that might be something that I personally feel like is actually catching on more and more. Like, more and more you'll see businesses doing well just because you're a badass local business. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody got, like, at least around, like, our communities and stuff, we see, like, we got, like, Yolanda's Tacos.
Favorite taco
If you're
spot.
watching Yolanda, love your time.
Let's get to start wrapping up. Jeffrey, did you get anything set up? You got
Yes.
an address for me?
Yes, I sent it on a
Okay, cool.
Facebook thing.
So this is your, what wallet are you using?
It's the Ethereum free wallet.
Okay. Well, you got a wallet. That's.
I got a wallet.
We'll get you.
God, well, do you remember your password?
Now I do want to remind everybody though, like for sure, if you're opening up new cryptocurrency wallets, which is advisable, open up them often and have some level of security. You want to back them up and save your passphrases so in case you lose that, especially as these cryptos are rising in value, will be a pretty unfun time to lose access to one of your wallets with a good amount of change.
My one is backed up by my eyeball and an RFID chip. So.
Oh wow! You went the full way. RFID.
I actually believed you for a second. The way you said that.
He's like, you guys just see me scanning my eyes. All right.
Dude,
Okay.
it'll happen,
So I got Jeffrey's wallet address. So I guess just go ahead and I'm gonna send it in just a second. Get your phone. Maybe show it to the camera on your side and so they can see it.
Yeah, you can't see that. Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
Okay, cool.
There you go.
Send me a dollar.
Send him Ethereum.
Cha-ching.
Okay, so we got
Jeff needs a new guitar.
$100 coming out of my wallet. Ether, 61 cents for a fee, not bad. 61 pence.
That's better than 25
That's what I'm
bucks.
talking about.
And ready, set, send. So check out the phone up there, see if maybe we can catch it to come in live.
Put it over. Put it
Are we
up.
gonna catch it? Is it gonna be? Well, it'll probably make a noise.
It just vibrated.
No, that was me turning one on.
Well, here, just show them the wallet. See if maybe you
It's
can.
empty right now. It says Jeffer up there.
It's like do.
We'll see how long it takes to confirm, but it should pop up in just a second. If that's sent on my side, and so we'll see if that comes up before we go off. We're about to go off on air. While we're waiting for that transaction, I just want to remind you guys, you are watching through DLive, decentralized live streaming. So thankful this worked. This is really cool. This is the step that we were missing. We've got Steemit, alternative to Facebook. We've got DTube. Now we've got DLive. So if we can get more and more people to broadcast through here, I'm going to do my show through here every Friday and maybe some other special broadcasts.
Is the D stand for Derek?
It stands for Decentralized Live. I'm guessing. It's
It's
DLive.io.
D- Live.
Rose Live. D Live.
So, yeah, and if you want to follow on Steemit, all that good stuff, you can support me monthly on patreon.com/DerekBros, or you can just continue to support me on Steemit, re-steaming my works. And as we mentioned, the three of us are going to have our own page very soon, hopefully within this next week. And for now, though, you can go check out our first video of 2018 on the Freethinker House Facebook page and the Conscious Resistance YouTube channel. And yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Any change on the transaction?
No, not yet.
It might take a couple minutes. We're going to go ahead, though, and I guess start to sign off today. Let me just make sure I sent it.
Oh, we just mention tune in next week because we're buying fruit trees this weekend.
Tomorrow morning we're going to going to the fruit tree sale here in
This is
Houston.
news to me, guys.
This is where, so Steven, you guys helped us raise $800 towards a second cup, and that money's been given to them. I got a video, we're coming out soon for that. Now I got another $500 we're going to spend on fruit trees, and this is Operation Houston Food Forest. So if we can get trees all around the city, and if you know people in Houston, maybe who have space for us to put trees in their yard, and they're going to let us come take fruit later or something like that. We're going to try to get Houston to have a food forest all around the inner loop, so stay tuned for that, and you guys can help fund that. So stay tuned, steam it, and thank you so much. That transaction's still going through, so you'll have to catch it next time. But thank you to Johnny and Jeffer for the assistance. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you to Damon for posting the links.
We got a pending paying.
We'll talk to you guys. Oh, we got pending? Hold on, let's see. Pending transaction.
Yes, it's nearly coming through. So it's in progress.
It's probably the Ether network is.
Well, show them the progress. That's close enough.
I don't know what this means, but it says 4 of 10.
Probably confirmations. You're getting confirmed by the network right now.
Dude.
Cool. Awesome.
That was 410.